Furious individual of color, this would have swelled into something actually that doesn't address who we are some of the time before numerous. How would you manage it? I mean, you realize. I know reality God in your blend. I know reality, yet the matter is, do you recall that shameful undertaking? When Steve's ex Mary released a red-hot tempest by guaranteeing that he took everything from her well. Hang on, in light of the fact that this time tables have turned, it seems like Steve has had enough of Mary's allegations and is prepared to defy her head-on now. This could be a hotly anticipated restitution. For her, the show is going to arrive at new levels as these past blazes take part in a legendary standoff. Steve, once profoundly enamored with his ex, is presently hauling her through the mud, blaming her for being cash-ravenous and fixated on his luxurious way of life. The disclosure has left individuals separated areas of strength for whip on the two sides of the wall. Some feel for Mary accepting she merits equity and pay for what she guarantees Steve put her through. They see and accepted her as a casualty benefit of anyway. Then there are the people who view her as a harmful ex, scrutinizing her thought processes and projecting shade on Steve Harvey and his cheerfully hitched life. Certain individuals accept that Steve's public showdown is a very much past due reaction to what they see as Mary's control and veracity. He has our maid gotten his effects together and forward those possessions to New York. And after that, that was all there was to it. When we went, when the time had come to go under the steady gaze of the adjudicator, Steve didn't show up. I was remaining there alone with his lawyer. Essentially the lawyer that was addressing us. He didn't show. And the appointed authority said, "Oh, you're separated from everything," began when Steve supposedly started seeing his second spouse, Mary Shackelford, while his separation from his most memorable wife, Marcia, was all the while forthcoming. Dubious, right? The two lovebirds secured the bunch in 1996, yet their relationship hit rough shores, prompting their untidy split in 2005. And sit tight for it, since things are going to raise soon after their division. Steve wound up caught in a snare of discussions anyway. Mary freely asserted that Steve had gone behind her back with his third wife, Marjorie, alongside other stunning charges. Irate person of color, this would have swelled into something that doesn't address what our identity is. In the event that I was irate, the ideal opportunity for me to strike out would have been doing the genuine window of the separation. So clearly getting some margin to collect myself, to get better, to get recuperated, and manage the higher perspective of this. And it isn't two individuals having an extremely open contention during their almost 10-year relationship. Mary had seen Steve's staggering ascent in the diversion world from the sidelines, yet their once wonderful marriage self-destructed, passing on Mary to suppress her considerations. Their 17-year marriage finished in separate, from which sent shockwaves across media outlets as she continued looking for equity. Mary then chose to take YouTube transferring recordings to earn support and uncovered the supposed unfairness of her ex in these recordings. She didn't keep down, blaming Steve for cheating, as well as physical and mental maltreatment, since it seems like it resembled a burial service, like a misfortune. And I comprehend you realize that occasionally it's difficult to escape the bed, to think straight, when you had your deepest desires fundamentally based on something currently gone right. Your character somehow or another wells. It resembles a demise. It resembles a memorial service, resembles a fraud, it resembles an assault, resembles an attack. It resembles a ton of things, yet in death there is conclusion. There's no conclusion for me. The embarrassment crested when Steve chose to make a legitimate move against Mary, documenting a claim to end her harming charges. He asserted that her proclamations needed proof and were uncalled for. I know reality, yet the matter is the part that is frightful in here is my better half and kids must be sedated into this. You know, whether you will be malignant, then feel free to simply point it at me. Yet my child is coming in the room crying, and that is additionally private. I don't for even a moment comprehend the reason for it. I mean, I got you frantic, yet you a long time back. That is the thing we're doing now. Before Mary Lee came into the image, Steve had a wild marriage with Marcia Harvey. Their relationship was a long way from simple, prompting their possible separation in 1994. Well, the primary explanation for their split was Steve's continuous non-appearance, and his supposed disloyalty broke Marcia's heart. It's really sad, yet the result was significantly more testing, as Steve's relationship with his kids, Liquor, and Carly endured anyway. Marcia chose to stay under the radar after the separation, while she apparently avoided the dramatization reports. Habit that she set out on another profession as a distributed writer. However, she stayed quiet about her past her books. By implication talked that Steve might have wandered, while he was scarcely at any point home on the off chance. That this isn't any clue what is presently quick forward to the following part in Steve Harvey's adoration life. This is the kind of thing much more shameful it appears to be, that while Steve's separation from Marcia was still in progress, he purportedly started seeing his prospective second spouse, Mary Shackelford, very dubious. Don't you concur? Picture this extremely youthful, striving Steve, hustling his direction through Hollywood, attempting to truly establish himself anyway. During this time, he then encountered Mary, who was working at a restorative store counter. At first she wasn't all that into him, yet Steve, with his magnetic appeal, figured out how to persuade her in any case. And soon they got hitched. Now, here's where things get fascinating. In those days, Mary was truly procuring $60,900 per year, which was more than whatever Steve procured, making her the provider in their initial days together. Yet as destiny would have it, Steve's star started to ascend with his determined quest for comedic greatness. He began landing an ever-increasing number of appearances at parody clubs, hoping to transform the business, and afterward, he previously looked at Marjorie. In one of these clubs, Marjorie and Steve examined their most memorable gathering during a 2018 episode of Steve's syndicated program, The Steve Harvey Show, where Marjorie said that Steve looked at her, and that was love at sight, while their association was moment. They, in the long run, split up following half a month of dating on the grounds that Steve was a bookie. After Steve's separation, it was soon enough when he reconnected with Marjorie and wedded her in 2007. Their marriage brought about the converging of their singular families, which had a sum of 7 youngsters anyway. Discussing Mary Lee truly exceeded all expectations for Steve's fantasies by giving him her life reserve funds of an astounding $250,000 to launch his satire club adventure. She trusted in him, upheld him, and put her entire being into their relationship. Yet gracious how the tables went. Sadly and complete destruction, Steve figured out how to waste away each and every penny of Mary's well-deserved cash. It was a horrible blow, leaving her feeling objectified, and double-crossed. The breaks in their relationship started to show, and Mary gradually began to understand that Steve was not the man she thought he was. Gossipy tidbits about his traitorousness contacted her ears, creating a shaded area of uncertainty and agony over their association. Then, like a stunner dropping, Terry Smith entered the scene, professing to have had a sweltering illicit relationship with Steve for a marvelous 9 years. Terry's disclosures broke Mary's reality considerably further. The pieces began getting sorted out, drawing an obvious conclusion of Steve's supposed disloyalty. It didn't take long for the last disaster for land. Steve quickly petitioned for legal separation, burning through no time in continuing on toward the following part of his heartfelt life. And very much like that entered Marjorie, who immediately caught his consideration and warmth, leaving Mary faltering from the quick progression of occasions. Mary didn't sit